We're here at Concord Baptist Church to celebrate the life and legacy of a man who's second to none. He's an educator, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a leader, he's an advocate, he's someone who we all look up to, someone who's blazed the trail for me and so many of my contemporaries who wanted to give their lives to public service. He's someone who I hold in the highest regard and honor every day of my life.
Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of our country. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of our country.
When I think of the name Al Vann, immediately I think of leadership. I think of someone who has been a strong advocate for his community, for his people, for the children of this community. I feel that he's really been someone who has been the voice of the community and someone that we all look to when we want to transcend to the next level of whatever it is that we're doing.
The councilman, former assemblyman, leader has been really just someone who has been a champion for this community, someone to look up to. Like in a world where very often black men are not, he is someone you can look up to. He has supported the community. He has supported it with his, even trusting it with his family.
I always learned a lot from him, especially about like giving back to the community. And he always also taught me like how to stay humble, and I got that from observing him.
This is where Al has served for so long, 38 years. I mean, that is an era, both in the Assembly in Albany as well as at City Hall. Al's been the voice for this community that has had many hardships, has had many challenges, but he's always stepped up to the plate and brought back home things that people needed. Economic development, better schools. He's a teacher at heart, and in fact, he's been my teacher, my mentor for so long.
His name is sort of branded with the political climate here in Brooklyn Central. And then I think about the education. A lot of folks sleep on the fact that he was an educator. I spoke to a young man the other day that was in Al Vann's class. You know, he's now in his 50s. And he was speaking about Al Vann as his teacher.
Because we believe that the Central Brooklyn brand and the Bedford-Stuyvesant brand is unique and second to none. And so I think through his work, he was able to preserve it, to expand upon it, and to make sure that people respect it, and most importantly, pay homage to it in our efforts as an ever-evolving community, that Bedford-Stuyvesant is something that will not be a part of the past, but will also be a part of the future and the present.
Well, Al Vann, let me just give you my description of Al Vann. I had the opportunity of meeting him several years ago, and I'm actually grassroots from the community. And Al Vann is a person I would consider as a mentor. I would consider him as a leader and an educator. And you can't really say that about everyone. It takes someone very special who's been out here. And he is a real trooper. He's a Renaissance man. And that would be the word that I would really want to use to sum up who Al Vann is.
I know when I wanted to start the museum, Assemblyman at the time, Albert Vann, was the first person that I went to. And when the idea of building an African Diaspora Art Museum was just a dream in my mind, he was the first elected official or first person to offer support. And through his support, I started the museum with a $5,000 contribution from the New York State Assembly that was made possible by then Assemblyman Albert Vann. And in everything that I've done ever since, he's been an integral part of that.
Councilman Al Vann is a legendary trailblazer who's meant so much to the Bedford-Stuyvesant community, to Central Brooklyn, to our borough, to the city, and in many ways to the nation. He in many ways coined the phrase community empowerment across a wide variety of spectrum and criteria, including economic, political, social, cultural, in ways that have meant so much to the people of Bedford-Stuyvesant and to Brooklyn.
Councilman Al Vann has been a champion for the needs and services for young people. He's also been a role model in this community on what public service is, what public service should be, and continue on even once he leaves office.
I think in general, from a child to an adult, his compassion for people, his compassion for his community, his love for the community, and his strength to never stop fighting. And that obviously comes from before, when he became an elected official, back in ATA, in the military, etc. So I think those kind of honed his skills, him going to school, and prepared him to fight the good fight.
Well, to me personally, it means someone that embodies service. He's been of service to the community in a million respects, and he's been of service to our organization tremendously. We're a very new organization, but he embraced us right away. He's even helping us with our leadership training, and you know, he's one of the first politicians to actually help fund our mentoring program. So he's a true asset, and we're just so glad that he's been involved with the community and involved with us.
In a word, Councilman Al Vann is an example. In a day and age where our men are treated as demagogues and their manhood is dismantled, Al Vann has always towered above the rest, and not just because he's about 7 feet tall, but because he has always stood for the black community. He's always unwavering and uncompromising, from redistricting to the school board.
You really can't say thank you for 30 years of service. You know, thank you just seems like, you know. So
I really want to say thank you. I know that that's the first thing that everyone wants to say today, because he has just been such a dynamic leader, and it's been such an integral part of my life, Councilman Albert Vann, in terms of he's provided such strong leadership and such strong dedication to the community. He set a very high bar.
I'd just like to say to Councilman Al Vann, he's a hero, and he would always be our hero. He have done so much for us, it's unmentionable.
You have served this community for so many years. Job well done. And the fact of it is that I'm going to miss him.
Al, we love you, and thank you for everything that you've done for me and my family and my community and our community. We love you. Take care. Be well.
One of the most beautiful things that I know is that there's no question to his integrity. You don't even have to play that game.
And whenever we see him, we will always have him in our hearts. We'll pray for him, that God would always watch over he and his family. We love you, Al. We love you.
It's beyond explanation. It's rare. Well, it's something you never expect in the first instance, and then to have such an outpouring of affection and caring from your community where you were born and grew up and bred and lived your life. It's, I mean, the village is saying, you know, we validate you. You know, your life's work has been something that we appreciate, and so it's beyond anything I could explain to anyone. If I were to continue to work anywhere, it would be in education. That, as you may know, it was my first love. I started teaching. That was my first job, and I taught until I, came into politics. But I think my love for teaching has never left me, and I think my way of expressing and getting things done has all pretty much been as a teacher as opposed to a quote politician. So I would not be surprised that I would be close to some academic institution in some capacity. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of our country. Now's the time for all good men to come to the aid of our country.